And I guess I should turn this around again.
Hello.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Let me turn my camera around for a moment. Nope.
I see how you have some nice colors prepared there.
I do. We have all the purples that you love.
Oh, you see, I was wondering if I should stick in my favorite color category.
And we have blues. And then over here we have all the earthy kind of colors.
Great.
And some new friends.
Oh.
Which are much bigger skeins, but these are 3 of our newer colors that we can look at.
Great.
Yay.
Hello.
And I'm having a really good hair day.
Oh, good.
Did I just say? There we go.
You cut out. Okay, you cut out. I didn't know if that was
now, the connection.
Okay.
That was me doing it because I wanted to, because I'm on my phone, I can switch to data instead of stupid internet in rural Ontario.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Do you think we should wait for some others to join, or should we go for it?
I think we should just go for it.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to save this video so that we can repost it later. So anybody who missed the beginning should, I hope, knock all the wood, be able to see it later on. So yes, why don't you dive in and tell everybody what we're here for.
Okay. So I've started what I call 4-color fission knitting. So fission knitting is my technique where I use marled yarns. And I am knitting 4 colors together, and I'm finding it much more difficult to choose colors. So here I have a 2-color example. And how I think about a 2-color example is that each of the colors, if I have good enough contrast between each of the colors, like I do that black and white test, and if I have good enough contrast, I think I should have enough contrast for my cables to stand out against the background. What I find really hard with 4-color is I can't guess what that background color is. So I can't tell if things will stand out well against that. Should I show? I have this stitch pattern knit up in several examples. Do you want me to just show them? So
yeah, let's see them.
Okay,
and then we know what, whoops, there we are.
Okay, so this is actually in Kim's Mergoat sock. It's got kind of a almost purple black and a really strong burnt orange on this side. And on this side, I would say these are less intense colors. There's purple and there's a pink. And the background, you can see the background here is really a thorough mixing of the two. And, you know, this is what I consider the main side. And I just thought these 2 colors were quite strong. And I think that's why they stood out so well on this background. Do you have an opinion on that, Kim, as to why this one worked on?
I think it's because, and these are the 2 colors that you use.
Yep.
I think it's partly because there's enough contrast. So there's enough of a value difference between these 2. So when you take a black and white photograph, they're not the same color in the black and white photograph. This one will look lighter than this one.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think makes this combination work really well is that these 2 are on different sides of the color wheel. And I think that in many of your designs that I've seen, the ones that I end up liking the best are the ones that have both a value contrast and a difference between They're on opposite sides of the color wheel.
Uh-huh.
So this is from the yellowy orangey area, and this is from purpley blue. It's sort of that
Mm-hmm.
edge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, by contrast, these two colors have the same, they look the same as these two colors in a black and white photograph.
Yep.
So
Okay.
they have the right value difference, but because they're on the same side of the color wheel, I think when they're together in your fission knitting, I think that they don't stand out from the surface of the background as well.
So are you saying if I
They're
had
so
both
close.
of those, like the pink and the dark purple together, I wouldn't get this nice, they wouldn't stand out as well on this side?
I don't think that they would. And let me pull out, because I happen to have, look at me with all the stuff.
Oh,
I have your flower wrap literally right here. So
yep.
where's the side that has? So there is a difference.
Yeah.
And it's quite a strong difference. But, and if we look at sorry, it's really hard to do this in a phone frame.
Yeah.
But if we look at the other side, the difference is good.
Yeah.
But when we look at, and definitely when colors are similar value, so this orange and this pink, even though they're on the opposite sides of the color wheel,
Uh-huh.
they're very close in value. So I think they would show up in a black and white photo as being the same color.
Okay. Yep.
And so without that, it's a very subtle change.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get that pop that you get with some of the others. Now, yeah, this is one of the ones that I think is the best. So it's got purple on one side.
Yep.
And orange on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the value difference between these two isn't huge, so here's these two colors.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure we get it in the right spot. And even though these two look like they would be very close in value,
Yep.
this one is just a little bit more purple.
Okay.
And in photographs, I know for sure that this one shows up as darker than these two.
Interesting. I have an example because look at this one that I did. I think those are the colors you're holding right now.
Yes.
And so I'm going to move a little further back. I don't know if the lighting's good enough for me to go a little further back. So up close, you can definitely see the design very well. But look at, I definitely lose the pop on this. Like, I just don't feel like it's, and it is because my other color on there is that, which I think has become, you know, when I was knitting this one, I felt like both the dark purple and the orange were the dominant color. Whereas I really felt like through knitting this one, this yellow just overtook everything. Yeah. Right? But
yellow is a bully.
Yeah. So you know, I kind of love the background fabric. Like, look at how that yellow sparkles. It's very, very pretty, but on both sides. Okay. So there, I feel like I'm losing the strength of the cables. Definitely that yellow cable stands out over everything. But this is very, I think this is maybe the pink color. I have a few colors that are quite similar. Yeah. And I think that's in there too. They're two. There's a purple and
this one.
Yes, I think so.
It's one of these two. Yes,
but once again, I think this one got lost in it too. So is it just too challenging maybe to stick such a bright yellow in there?
If the yellow is going to be in the background, I wonder, and this is something for us to try, I wonder if we find another color that has that same kind of brightness.
So
And
what kind of
that?
color could be as bright as that? Like, Kim, I can't even picture it.
Okay, you ready?
Okay, sunglasses.
Dun,
Whoa.
dun, dun.
Yeah.
So if you had these two, let's move the orange for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you used these two with these two.
Mm-hmm.
These are going to be a great background color. And
Yeah.
they're two colors that work really well as neutrals.
Okay.
In that neutrals don't have to be black or gray or brown. Sometimes it's just good saturated versions of other colors that aren't loud and obnoxious.
Yep.
Yellow always takes over.
And that lime green would always take over too, right?
Yes. Anytime we use these two in a dye pot with other colors,
yep,
these are all you can see. So
okay.
I think the same thing is going to happen when you choose them for a design. So I wonder what would happen with your 4-color if when you want the design to come forward and be really visible, if you have these two together or something in a similar value vein, here's one. There we go.
Okay, yeah.
That's like the axis of neon evil right here.
Yeah.
So if you have more than just this yellow in the background with these, then we've already seen that the yellow lifts off the yellow
surface,
lifts off the surface really nicely. I think this will too. And this will as well, but not as much as these two.
So my designs would put 2 colors on one side and 2 colors on the other. And I think if I was to choose something that was to lift off the surface, I would need both the colors on the one side to both lift off the surface. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And I think that's great, because then it gives the option for the person wearing the piece to have one side that's sort of softer and less has less contrast, and then the other side is a little bit more exciting and bright, and you see the cable lifting off the surface. So it's a little bit like if we look at
Kim, okay.
Yep.
I just want to go back to those the 4 you had laid out a second with all those brights.
Yeah.
Just going back to the black and white, Kim.
Yeah.
I think when you take that black and white, the green and the yellow will come out almost white, and then the two on the right, the 2 purples, will come out kind of gray, won't they?
Yes. Yeah.
So in there, I'm taking. I'm just trying to picture the background. So the background should be a fairly light colored background then, right?
Yeah. Let me twist them to get, so you're just going to get a really close up look of stitches for a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist these all together. I don't know if we've ever done this for you, Mary.
But I have seen other people do it. I don't know if I've done it with you.
Because this is how, whenever we're trying to communicate how colors are going to work together in the same piece, we twist them together in the way that I'm doing right now, but you can't see because the camera is the other way. But it's not very exciting to watch me twist stuff. Okay, so. Yeah. So.
Okay, so that, to me, that bright green jumps more than the yellow.
It does. So this will actually, the bright green will actually show up a little bit lighter than this yellow.
Okay, and the other question I have is, I only see 1 purple. Like, is that the way you twisted, or Are those two colors too similar is my question.
They're very similar to each other. So
Would you use
there
two
I'll
that
zoom it
similar?
in. I might use something different, just different enough.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
And now I'll put this up so you can see, at least see my hair. But let's try, because I know you really like that pink, so I'll put that away. But what happens if we add a purple? And twist. Try to get this so we can see all of them. There we go. So now I think we've actually got a little bit more balance between the colors. And all I did is I chose a slightly bluer purple.
That made a big difference.
Right?
Yes, I like that a lot better.
And so now when you pull away from it, the orange stands out. Yeah. The yellow, the neon stands out. But even these two purpley colors, pink and purple, they look more distinct than they did before. Yeah, they do. So, now, you know what's interesting about this is like they're from such different color families. Like, you know, it's kind of like you just threw a load of whatever together. Like, I'm wondering how those will be combined in the background. If it'll just, does it turn into just a brown? Oh, will it really? Oh. I wonder if this green, because I think this green will behave much more like this yellowy orange. Uh-huh. Let's see. Shall we? Let's twist. Let's twist again like it was 1999. Okay, so we'll get rid of this neon, which I really just threw in there because I like seeing people's faces when I... Yeah. Okay. As much as I like that color combination, I still would have a hard time knitting with a neon like that. No, but here's the thing. If we find out color, tone, and color value and... Oh, wow. Color value and brightness versus dullness. If we discover what mix we need in a combination for fission knitting, then it means that we can take this idea, and if you don't love it, we can try to come up with 2 or 3 other choices to see what works. But right now, this is giving me ideas for what I would do if I wanted to make it blue-based, for example. I have no idea what you mean by that. So blues instead of that green one in there? So if I wanted to change what was happening and make it like, now I've got 4 colors that have similar value but has an entirely different feel. Okay, so I'm just thinking in terms of that blue-based one that you have. Yeah. So you would put the dark one in the yellow, or I don't know what you call that color on the left. That would go on one side? Is that what you're thinking? So I think these 2 on one side. Oh. And these 2 on the other. But this is where I think you swatch. Yeah, I think you would have to. If you're a knitter and you're doing the pattern, you do a few swatches playing with the placement of these colors to see which one you like the best. Yeah. Interesting. That one is very interesting. I'm not sure. I actually think the purple and the yellow might be that was my first instinct of this one. Yeah, to go that way, and then that would be my quieter side, the blue side, the blue turquoise side would be my quieter. Maybe, and then I also think that the blues would stand out more against. I think so because of these.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that goes, this one just reminds me a bit of this one in terms of philosophy of colors, right? You have the
Yes.
dark, the I can see the goldy yellow kind of playing the role of this burnt orange. And
Yes.
the two blues on the back are kind of both soft and
Yes.
somewhere in the middle between the yellow and the dark purple in terms of value.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. But see, as soon as you do this,
Mm-hmm.
it changes
Oh,
the dynamic
yes.
completely.
Yes, it does.
So this is more, I think this is more sedate.
Yep.
This makes it more exciting. And if I were to do this, I think I might think about putting this blue in.
Oh, that's interesting. It's quite in my, it looks really similar to the purple for me right now. Those two.
To yes, but they're really not in person. It's hard on Instagram because we don't get the color correct.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
So I
Okay.
think there's a lot to play with there.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because this sorry if you could just go back to what you just had
Yep.
there. You're
Yeah.
the blue the no
No, the
the
other one?
stains, yeah.
Okay.
It's like you have the darkest one. Um no, take out the light green and put in the other purple that you had. The two other purples that you had.
Like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Like see the one, the darker purple second from the right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like now the darkest color on the
Yes.
on, and you're putting it with, it's kind of like if I was to number them 1, 2, 3,
Mm-hmm.
4, darkest to lightest, I would have said that it'd be 1 is the number 3 one, the third.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one at the furthest left, is that number 2 then? Is that, would you say that's darker than the blue on the right?
It's definitely not darker, and that's partly because of
Oh,
the lightness of the dye. So if we put these side by side,
oh, that makes a big difference. Yeah.
it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Side by side, they start to blend into each other, but there's definitely a difference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then as soon as you separate it away, it's
Mm-hmm.
like this is the brighter version of this, even though this is really blue and
Interesting.
this is very purple.
Yeah. Very interesting.
This is grimace on acid kind of purple.
Uh-huh. Now that yellow that you have there feels like it feels like it has a really different character than the other 3 colors. Do you think that
It does.
matters? Does that matter when I'm taking 4 colors? Like, should they all sort of, you know what, why I've really enjoyed working with your yarns, like I had so many leftover colors from our various projects, but a
Yep.
lot of them felt very cohesive to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made it go better. Whereas with that one, it kind of, that one color does stand out to me because it feels so different in character.
It is, but what could make it work is that and I think it works better when we throw this back in.
Okay. Yeah. You see, that brings that one is more similar in character to the yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as we bring that back in, even with this purple,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly that kind of ties these 3 together.
It does.
And this guy is way out in left field, but you kind of want to play with them anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this yellow is very, very blue. It's very, very cool for a yellow.
Yep.
When we put it right next to this yellow, which is not, so this is a little bit more on the orange side. This is almost green.
I get that. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so even within each color family, you can have cool colors and warm colors,
Yeah.
which we never think about when we think of yellows. So I think part of the reason why this yellow does so well with these two blues is because it's on the cooler side. It's almost green.
So let's say you took like that purple that you have there on the left is like such a bright purple. Like, what if could you get a purple that feels more like those other three on the right? Do you think that would help or not? Or
it could. What about
that does feel more in the family, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's currently twisted around other skeins, but we can pull out enough of it to get a sense. And that makes it more quiet.
Yeah.
But then, because of that, I kind of want these two to be on one side.
I would too.
These two on the other side.
I would too. Yeah.
This one is way back in the background. And it's a bunch, I'll bring it in closer. So it's a much bluer purple, which is why I think now we have all these colors that are on the cool side of their individual color families.
I do like that, actually.
So do I. And it's not something I would have put together.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like both of these that I've done with your yarn, they just are so intense, right? And I didn't know that I would be able to do it with your yarn, not as intense.
Let's see. No, it's still the lighter one that I like. Look at that.
I kind of like that.
So do I. And that is so weird for me because I keep wanting to use the really intense colors.
Well, that one's weird for me because that's nowhere close to my usual range.
My goodness.
But you know what? I do find the 4 color stuff is really surprising me as to what I like. So,
right?
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about use of color through working with you and your designs because it's forcing me to look at color in different ways. I'm going to take the mask off because everyone's outside now.
Okay.
It's forcing me to look at color in much different ways and try to predict what it's going to look like in your techniques, which are so unique and so different than everybody else's.
Yeah.
Here, I pulled up.
Okay, I'm kind of loving that. So you know what? We haven't, like, this is a little bit different than the way I'm trying to, like, I'm trying to learn about color and how they work together. And I keep trying to picture how the background forms. And then I try to picture the individual color on the background. And I don't know that I'll ever really be able to picture the background. Like with the 2-color knitting, I've gotten very good about picturing the background. And I don't know if that should be my way of approaching color for the 4-color stuff.
I don't know that it should either, because I've also been trying to predict how the background color is going to look and then think about how the individual colors are going to look on top of that.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that that's not really working.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's got to be more about in this group of colors, if I take one and put it on top.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that going to pop? Because it's not going to pop against itself. So I'm just going to ignore the fact that this would be in the background as well and try to give myself as little bits of the other colors as possible. Like that purple's going to stand its own against the other 3 colors.
Yeah.
And I think the yellow will do the same.
Oh, it does. Yep.
Yep. But now I'm going to try the same with these. And while it does stand its own, it's not as much contrast.
Strong. Yeah.
So I think I'm inventing a way for us to walk ourselves through these now.
But what's interesting is I think we were thinking that we would put the purple and the blue together on one side and the green and the yellow on the other side, right? But what we've done is we've taken one that really pops with one that doesn't pop as much.
Yes.
And I'm worried that that's going to cause imbalance in the cables. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to give you an example. I don't know that I have an example of where I think, yeah. Oh, it was another project where I had imbalance. And like, you know, sometimes when I look at my knits from a distance, and I think when you have the imbalance, sometimes from a distance and you only see one cable from, and then you're losing half the design. And that's the part I'm worried about with putting the popping one with a non-popping.
And with the examples you've been showing me, one of the things I really love about this new design is, to me, it feels like a textile fragment when I look at it.
What?
It feels like a textile. So let me try to explain what I mean. Sometimes when you see photos of ancient textiles, there are pieces that have broken away.
Okay.
And so when I look at that one design that you're doing right now, there's very clearly a continuous pattern.
Yep.
But the changes of colors make it look like there's one piece of it that's like a fragment that's popping out.
You know, you can really see it when I hold this. I'll show you this one.
Yeah.
This is the same one. And I go a little further back to hold this up. But it does feel like, I think especially since it's white, it feels like I'm chopping out pieces of the fabric.
And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it does have an effect when I wear this. I feel like I'm mostly wearing purple. And I did use the most purple, like I actually used more purple yarn. So yeah, it feels like purple with like little bits of white chopped into it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. And I really like that effect. I think that it takes a certain amount of skill to be able to get that effect without and make it look purposeful.
Well, I'll tell you something about this. It was pretty hard to remember where to put the white and purple. Like you increase these in. If I made a mistake, you know, I just kept going with it. So it was kind of, you let randomness just sort of permeate and it works for you sometimes. Yeah.
I am familiar with this concept.
Yeah, that was just too big a piece to plan. And anyways, that was fun. I'll show you this one other example. This one goes back a little bit to what we were just talking about. This isn't your yarn. This is just yet another practice swatch. So here I have like a cobalt blue and like a dark gray. But really, both of these come out quite dark when you do the black and white. And on this side, I thought that so clearly the white stands out because it's just crisp white. I thought that this blue would disappear. And it's not quite as poppy as the white, but is it just because it's such a brilliant blue that I don't lose it?
I think so. And because it's so different than the other blue and the black that you have in the background as well.
So I do wonder if this one worked better. I just picked yarns and I didn't actually think the colors were going to work that well, but it's all the yarn I had that went together. And I was just wondering if it was just because I just took the two darkest and it sort of just made a blackboard for the other colors to go on.
Maybe.
Right?
That's entirely possible.
Yeah. So I'm just relating this back to, because this is a popping color and this is a less popping color. I'm just trying to relate this back to what those colors you were showing me just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, that blue on the other side, it's like a shadow of the white. It's like an echo.
I kind of get that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's there. You can see it, but you feel like you have to look for it.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with the blue and the black on the other side, it's very, or the blue and the gray on the other side, it's very clear. There's blue and there's gray.
Yeah.
And they are both strong.
Mm-hmm.
And they both have strong visible lines.
Mm-hmm.
But on the back, there's the white that's like in your face. Here we go.
Yeah.
We are white. We are crisp. We are definitely a cable.
Yeah.
And the blue is, we're white. We're crisp. We're kind of a cable.
Yeah.
As like an echo of
Yeah.
what's happening. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's really cool as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are, back to these.
Yep.
I think you could definitely play, because you could do.
Yeah.
You could do these two on one side and these two on one side, and that would be interesting.
Yep.
You could do, I think you could do the yellow and the purple on one side and then the two blues on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that there's any other, I think that this yellow and blue on one side and the purple and blue on the
That
other,
doesn't
I
do
don't think
anything
that's
for me.
going to be as effective. But I think you've got some choices here.
You know what as an experiment that I would like to try at some point, to do both those combinations and see that if we interpret the background as different. Like when you do that, right? Because the background's going to be exactly the same. The four colors mix like 25% each in the background. They should theoretically be identical, but I'm wondering if they will feel different with the different cable colors on each side.
I wonder too.
Mm-hmm.
My sense is that yes, they will. They will feel different.
Oh my goodness, this will be fun, Kim.
I think so.
This will be a lot of fun.
So are these the colors I'm sending you? Or do you want me to
I
try?
have to sleep on these things, Kim. I can't decide on the spot.
So I think you should sleep on it. And, you can always come back to me and say, I like the feel of this one.
Yeah.
Let's look at other colors that we can put together to get a similar feel.
Uh-huh. I do like that this is taking me to a less intense place than I've been using your yarn, just to get a different vibe going with my knitting. I would like that.
Yes.
Could I ask you to send me a picture like you often do? Because
I absolutely can.
Because I'll probably look at it a gazillion times.
Yeah, absolutely. And you always have full permission to go and pull the little squares off the website. And
yeah, I might play some more. Yeah,
that's right.
But I would have never pulled that set of squares off your website, just because
I never would have put this together. So
yeah.
I think it's really the combination of you and I talking through and thinking through color that does this.
Well, you know what? I think it is also that you have those colors on hand, because I remember this happening the last time we were together, and like if the colors are only like 6 inches away, you will actually try it, whereas if it takes too much effort, I don't.
Exactly.
That's a lot of fun. Well, this is great. It gives me a lot to think about, and how to, because this is going to be like the 4-color thing, I expect is going to be a thing for me going forward. So I do need some framework as to how to think about it. And this helps a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I will send you photos.
Okay. Wonderful.
You do your thinking thing.
Okay.
And our yarn and your fingers will meet at some point and create something amazing.
Okay. Wonderful. Thanks, Kim. And thanks for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
This was great. We should do this more.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Well, bye everybody else too.
Bye.
Bye.